They say power is an illusion, but you know that's not entirely true, don't you? Because in every glance, every conversation, and every relationship, there's an unspoken battle of influence, a silent pull of invisible strings. And today, we unravel one of the most ancient and misunderstood arts, the sacred of gaining power over any woman, not through manipulation, not through deception, but through the timeless wisdom of Stoicism. Before we begin, I want you to answer this in the comments. What do you believe gives a person real power in a relationship? Your thoughts might surprise you, or they might reveal a hidden truth you've always known. Share them below. And if you're ready to unlock the ancient knowledge they never wanted you to learn, hit the like button, not just as a gesture, but as a silent pact, a signal that you are ready to transcend the ordinary and step into the realm of mastery. Now let me tell you something they won't teach you in modern relationship advice columns. The most powerful men in history did not chase approval. They did not bend their essence to fit someone else's expectations. The Stoics, the ancient guardians of inner fortitude, understood that true power begins not with control over others, but with unshakable control over oneself. In this video, we will journey beyond the surface. You'll discover why so many men unknowingly surrender their power without a word. You'll learn the subtle forces that govern attraction, not the fleeting sparks of charm or bravado, but the deep magnetic pull of a stoic mind, a mind that commands respect without demanding it. We will explore forgotten teachings, from the whispers of Marcus Aurelius to the quiet strength of Epictetus, revealing how their philosophies unlock a kind of influence that no trick or tactic ever could. Influence born from calm presence, unyielding boundaries, and an aura of detached power. But make no mistake, this is not about playing games. This is about transforming yourself into a person who radiates an undeniable gravity. A person who doesn't need to seek power, because power naturally flows to them. Stay with me until the end. Every word, every insight will peel back another layer of illusion, bringing you closer to a truth that has been buried for centuries. Are you ready? Let's begin. Long before modern dating gurus and fleeting relationship hacks, there existed a silent understanding among the ancient philosophers, an understanding of power, influence, and the human heart. The Stoics, often mistaken as cold or emotionless, actually held the deepest insights into connection. They knew that the true dance between man and woman was never about outward displays of dominance, but about mastering the self. Consider Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, who ruled not by force of charm, but by the weight of his inner calm. His power was not in the way he sought attention, but in the way he remained unshaken by it. He wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." This single line reveals the core of Stoic influence, embodiment over persuasion. In ancient Rome and Greece, relationships were not seen as battles of seduction, but as mirrors reflecting one's inner discipline. The Stoic man did not seek to impress a woman with extravagant gestures or hollow promises. He impressed through his unwavering presence, his restraint, and his clarity of purpose. His indifference to fleeting approval became his most alluring trait. But this knowledge did not begin with the Stoics. If we look further back, to the philosophies of the East, Lao Tzu, the sage of Taoism, spoke of the soft overcoming the hard. Water, though gentle, carves through rock not by force, but by persistence and quiet strength. This metaphor mirrors the Stoic approach to influence. Power over another does not come from pressing harder, but from standing firm in your essence, unmoved and serene. Over time, however, this wisdom was distorted. As societies grew louder, more distracted, the art of inner mastery was replaced with superficial tactics. The loudest voice, the flashiest display, became mistaken for strength. Yet beneath the surface, the truth remained unchanged. The Stoics understood that control is an illusion. You cannot truly control another's mind, desires, or actions. But you can control your reactions, your emotions, your principles. And in doing so, you create a magnetic pull, one that quietly says, "I do not need you. I choose to share my presence with you." This paradox of non-attachment, granting the deepest influence, is a lesson often lost in modern times. Today, power is too often conflated with control, but the ancients knew better. They taught that a man's power over a woman, or anyone, is not seized. It is earned through the quiet gravity of self-mastery. Much of this knowledge has been hidden, overshadowed by noise and ego-driven pursuits. But now, you have the chance to reclaim it, to walk the path of the Stoic, where power is not about dominance but about resonance, where influence is not exerted but invited. In this video, we are not merely learning how to gain power over a woman. We are rediscovering how to become a man of such inner strength that power becomes irrelevant. Because when you master yourself, you naturally command respect, admiration, and yes, even desire. The world has forgotten this ancient truth, but you are here to remember. Imagine standing in a crowded room. Conversations swirl around you, filled with boasts, loud laughter, and desperate attempts to impress. Yet amidst all that noise, the most magnetic person is often the one who says the least, the one who listens more than he speaks, the one whose mere presence shifts the energy of the space. This is not coincidence. This is the invisible power of Stoicism in action. At its core, Stoicism teaches one foundational truth. Power over others begins with mastery over oneself, not through manipulation, but through cultivating an inner state so grounded, so centered, that others are drawn to it naturally. You become an anchor in a world adrift in emotional chaos. Let's break down how this translates into influence over women, not in a way that is forceful or deceitful, but in a way that honors both your nature and hers. First, understand this. Desire is attracted to stability. In a world where emotions are often volatile and reactions are immediate, a man who can remain composed in the face of provocation becomes incredibly rare. That rarity becomes valuable. When a woman sees that you are not easily swayed by flattery, not disturbed by mood swings, not controlled by impulsive desires, she instinctively recognizes your strength. This is biological, subconscious, evolutionary. Women are naturally attuned to emotional stability because it signals safety, confidence, and leadership. The Stoics called this apatheia. Not apathy in the modern sense, but freedom from being a slave to passions. A man who embodies apatheia is not cold. He is deeply alive, but not owned by transient emotions. Second, detachment amplifies attraction. When you do not need someone's validation, you stop chasing. And paradoxically, this absence of pursuit creates a gravitational pull. The Stoics teach us to be content with ourselves, to find fulfillment inwardly. This makes your interactions come from a place of abundance, not lack. A woman senses this. She feels that you are complete with or without her. and this quiet confidence is irresistible. Third, speak less, observe more. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Many men lose influence by speaking carelessly, revealing their insecurities, or reacting emotionally. The Stoic way is to cultivate silence, to let words be few, but weighted with meaning. When you listen deeply and speak thoughtfully, your words carry more power. Your silence becomes intriguing. You are no longer just another voice. You become a mystery to be unraveled. Fourth, practice voluntary discomfort. This is an ancient Stoic exercise. Deliberately expose yourself to challenges, cold showers, fasting, moments of solitude, not to suffer, but to strengthen your will. Why does this matter in relationships? Because a man who has trained himself to be comfortable with discomfort is not easily manipulated. He does not fear rejection, does not cling to approval. This makes him unshakable and therefore powerful. Finally, understand the paradox of power. The less you seek to control, the more influence you gain. A Stoic man respects a woman's autonomy. He does not attempt to possess or dominate. Instead, he offers presence, stability, and clarity. In doing so, he becomes a lighthouse in her storm, not a prison warden. That creates a connection built on admiration, not control. Every glance you hold, every pause before you speak, every choice to remain calm when provoked. These are the subtle expressions of Stoic power. Over time, they weave a fabric of quiet influence that no boastful display can match. This is not about temporary tactics. It's about becoming the kind of man who naturally holds power because his foundation is unshakable. A man who does not beg for attention, but commands it simply by being fully present, fully grounded, fully himself. And that is how you begin to gain power, not over a woman, but within yourself. And in mastering that, the world, including her, cannot help but take notice. Now let us step deeper into the labyrinth, beyond the surface-level understanding of influence, into the hidden chambers where true power resides. This is where most men falter. They stop at composure, at calmness, believing that is enough. But the Stoics knew better. They understood the subtle, almost mystical layers of human connection, where power is not shown, but felt. One of the most profound Stoic insights is this: emotions are contagious. The emotional state you cultivate within yourself will inevitably ripple outward, influencing those around you. If you are anxious, needy, or restless, that energy will infect your interactions. But if you have trained your mind to remain serene, content, and detached, others will unconsciously align to your emotional frequency. This is not theory. This is biological resonance. Human beings are wired to mirror the emotions of those they interact with. A Stoic man, therefore, becomes a silent conductor of emotional harmony. He does not force connection. He invites it by embodying the state others crave. Here's the paradox. True power is soft, not hard. It does not announce itself. It whispers. It lingers in the space between words, in the calmness of your gaze, in the effortless way you hold your ground. Think of Epictetus, born a slave, yet revered as a teacher of emperors. His influence did not come from status, wealth, or outward power. It came from the undeniable authority of a man who had mastered his own soul. This brings us to the deeper level of Stoic power, presence over performance. Many men believe they need to constantly perform to gain a woman's attention. Witty jokes, grand gestures, displays of knowledge. But performance is exhausting. presence, on the other hand, is effortless yet profoundly impactful. When you are fully present, undistracted, and genuinely attuned to the moment, you create a space where true connection can blossom. Women are intuitive beings. They sense when a man is trying to impress versus when he is simply being. The Stoic man offers no performance. He offers presence, and in doing so, he becomes rare, precious, desired. Another layer, control through surrender. It sounds contradictory, but listen closely. When you release the desire to control outcomes, how she feels, how she responds, where the conversation goes, you liberate yourself. This surrender is not weakness. It is supreme confidence. Because only a man who trusts his own value can allow things to unfold naturally without forcing them. This detachment is magnetic. It signals that you are not dependent on external validation, and that independence is paradoxically what makes others gravitate towards you. Furthermore, the Stoics practiced a mental exercise called the view from above. Imagine yourself rising above your current situation, seeing the vastness of life, the triviality of fleeting concerns. This perspective shrinks anxieties and puts desires into context. When you embody this mindset, you approach relationships not from a place of desperation, but from a higher vantage point. You become less reactive, more discerning, more composed, and this is where true power over a woman emerges, not through words, not through acts of dominance, but through the silent authority of a man who sees the bigger picture. A man who is not a prisoner of his desires, but their master. One final secret: power over others grows in proportion to your power over your inner dialogue. The way you speak to yourself determines how you show up in the world. The Stoics trained relentlessly to refine their internal speech, to replace self-doubt with clarity, to transform fear into curiosity, to turn rejection into an opportunity for growth. When your internal world becomes a fortress, untouched by external storms, you emanate a quiet power that is palpable. A woman feels it, not consciously perhaps, but instinctively. It tells her, here is a man who is sovereign. Here is a man who needs nothing, and yet chooses to offer his presence. That is the pinnacle of Stoic influence. Now you see, this journey is not about tricks or shortcuts. It's about becoming the kind of man who naturally commands attention, respect, and yes, deep, genuine desire. And that is how you gain power. Not over her, but over yourself. Now comes the part where philosophy meets a reality. It's one thing to understand Stoic principles in theory, but how do you live them? How do you embody this quiet, magnetic power in your daily interactions with women? This is where most falter, because true application requires more than clever words. It requires practice, awareness, and inner transformation. Let us begin with the first and most critical exercise, the art of deliberate pause. Before you respond, whether in conversation, argument, or even flirtation, pause. Not out of hesitation, but out of choice. This pause, even if only a heartbeat long, breaks the chain of impulsive reaction. It creates space for you to respond with intention rather than emotion. In that moment, you reclaim your power. You are no longer dancing to someone else's tune. You set the rhythm. Women, being highly attuned to emotional cues, will sense this difference immediately. The man who pauses to choose his words appears grounded, composed, and in control, not of her, but of himself. This alone sets you apart from the crowd. Next, practice voluntary discomfort daily. The Stoics would sleep on the floor, wear rough clothing and fast, not because they were masochists, but because they understood a profound truth. Comfort breeds weakness. By choosing discomfort, you train your mind to remain calm under pressure. Modern application, cold showers, digital detoxes, fasting, physical training, putting yourself in situations where you are slightly uncomfortable, yet remain composed. This strengthens your willpower muscle. And a man who can endure discomfort without flinching becomes immensely attractive, not because of what he says, but because of who he is. Another vital practice, the discipline of attention. In a world addicted to distraction, pure attention has become a rare gift. When you are with a woman, give her your undivided focus. No glancing at your phone, no scanning the room. Look into her eyes. Listen, not to respond, but to understand. This depth of presence is disarming. It creates an emotional safety few can offer. Presence tells her, I am here by choice, not by need. That alone radiates power. Now embrace the practice of negative visualization. This Stoic exercise involves imagining the loss of things you take for granted. Health, freedom, even relationships. By contemplating impermanence, you free yourself from the fear of loss. How does this relate to gaining power over a woman? Simple. When you no longer fear losing her, your interactions become liberated from neediness. You act from a place of abundance, not scarcity. And nothing is more magnetic than a man who does not fear walking away. One more. Cultivate inner dialogue mastery. Every morning, spend 5 minutes observing your thoughts. Identify self-doubt, insecurity, and emotional impulses. Do not judge them. Simply watch. Then, like a skilled craftsman, begin to refine that dialogue. Replace, I hope she likes me, with, I bring value by being fully myself. This daily refinement builds an inner fortress of confidence that no external opinion can breach. Lastly, ritualize solitude. Dedicate time each day to be alone with your thoughts, without distraction. This is not isolation, but recalibration. Solitude sharpens your self-awareness, centers your emotions, and strengthens your presence. The man who is at peace in his own company is never desperate for external validation, and that independence is profoundly attractive. Remember, these practices are not meant to impress. They are meant to transform. Influence is not something you project outwardly. It emanates from within. Through these Stoic disciplines, you will begin to notice subtle shifts. Conversations flow differently. Interactions become effortless. You no longer feel the urge to prove yourself, because your mere presence becomes proof of your inner mastery. And when you master yourself, you naturally hold power in any relationship, not through force, but through the undeniable gravity of who you have become. This is the way of the Stoic, quiet, powerful, irresistible. And now we come to the final breath of this journey, not an ending, but a deeper beginning. You sought to know how to gain power over any woman. Yet, as you've seen, the answer was never truly about her. The ancient Stoics whisper through the ages, he who masters himself masters all. Power is not taken. It is not demanded. It is invited by the silent authority of self-possession. In a world saturated with noise, neediness, and constant striving for attention, the man who does not chase becomes the man who attracts. The one who is unshaken by emotion, detached from outcome, yet deeply present. He becomes a lighthouse in the storm. Women are not drawn to the loudest voice, but to the calmest presence, to the man whose stillness speaks louder than any boast. Remember, the greatest influence is invisible. It is felt in how you hold your gaze, in the ease of your breath, in the pause between your words. It is not about dominance or deceit. It is about alignment. When your inner world is ordered, the outer world bends in response. This is not seduction. It is gravity. You now hold keys that many overlook, simple yet profound. The power of pause, the strength of emotional independence, the discipline of attention, the courage to embrace discomfort, the freedom found in letting go. Practice these not for show, but for self. And by doing so, you will embody a presence that is rare, mysterious, and profoundly compelling. Women, like all human beings, are not seeking perfection. They seek authenticity, wrapped in strength. A man who has walked through his own inner fire and emerged calm, clear, and whole. So, let me ask you, which of these Stoic practices will you begin today to reclaim your power? Type it below. Share your commitment. Declare it not for me, but for yourself. And if this journey has stirred something within you, if you felt the truth of these ancient teachings resonate in your soul, then honor this moment. Like this video. Not because you're told to, but because by doing so, you affirm your own path toward mastery. This channel is a sanctuary for those who seek to rise above the noise, to reclaim their inner power, and to walk the path of wisdom. Join us. There is more to uncover. Until next time, remember, true power begins in silence, in presence, in mastery of the self. And from that, the world, including her, cannot help but follow.